guys, Jess here from Work at Home Chaos. Today I want to take a little bit of time to talk about reports in regards to the ESL online classroom. Now, for those of you who have considered teaching English online or who teach English online, you know or are figuring out that one of the beautiful things about teaching English online is that you get the beautiful piece of teaching, right? The engagement, the fun, the learning, the excited child in front of you, and you get to toss most of the rest aside, right? The politics, the extra sort of compliance work, the just that extra stuff that just seems so mundane, and you just get to teach. And so it's really, really awesome. Now, this is coming from a full-time teacher, so I am, enjoying both worlds right now. But one of the really nice things about doing ESL online, teaching ESL online as an extra job, is that I don't have all of this extra work outside of my teaching time, right? I probably wouldn't be able to do it if that were the case with my full-time job and 2 babies running around the house. So there are, however, some things that we do need to do in order to keep up with, maintaining this foundation, this relationship, the effectiveness of our teaching for our students. And just like a brick and mortar teacher, right, a teacher in a typical school setting, feedback is critical. And so in the ESL online world, feedback is also critical and is also very important and, is there. So it is one thing that you do need to do outside of your class time. So let's talk about it. Having seen feedback or reviews or reports for 3 different companies, I think it's important to sort of just mention some of the different things that you might see. Now, sometimes you are going to get a report that says something like pronunciation, excellent, average, below average, poor, right? Grammar, vocabulary, etc., etc. Then you'll likely have something to fill in, explain where you're coming from, right? Sometimes you will have something to fill in, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you'll be asked things like, to determine if the student was on task. The student was distracted, click yes or no. The student was participating, click yes or no. The student was tired, yes or no. The student knew most of the vocabulary, yes or no. The student was a level A, B, or C student. Were they a low level, middle, or higher level student? Okay, so you're going to be asked different things in these reports, and they're going to come to you in different ways. Sometimes you're only going to have a box, similar to what PalFish just recently got rid of. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute too. Sometimes you will only have tick marks. Okay, some of your reports in some companies are going to take you just a couple of seconds. It's going to be really sweet, really short, and you're going to be able to send that off. Just click, click, click. You could do them right after class and submit. Some reports are going to ask you to click and then also include your own written review. Okay, so you're going to see a little bit of both. You're going to likely have to address in some way content, behavior, were they on task, were they focused, were they participating, pronunciation, grammar. Okay, so you want to be able to sum up how the class went for this student. Okay, I like to include the objectives for the class when I'm writing them out. When I have a written report, I like to include the objectives, a little reminder of what we did in that class without forcing them to go back. I can also say something that they didn't really do that well on, something they can practice. And then I can say, I'll send you a worksheet if we're talking PalFish, right? The really great thing about PalFish is I can say, you struggled with identifying the orange items. So I'm going to send you a worksheet for you to practice. And you can send them a worksheet to do that. You cannot do that with most companies. That is one of the really awesome things about PalFish. You get that continued sort of learning and that connection with your students. You get to really push them. Okay, so reports are critical. Like I said, some you will just have easy tick marks, some you will need to respond to. Now let's talk about PalFish's reports. Until recently, PalFish had nothing other than a box for those official courses, so students who already have purchased the program, who are already in the PalFish program. In this box, you were left to write what you wanted. You can address, strengths, weaknesses, address their behavior, address anything that you'd like. Okay, so this was your time to just tell the parent, tell the student how the lesson went. And so I want to share with you what my typical report looked like when this was all that it was, and what really it's still looking like. So I always start with great job, Johnny, super job in class, Jenny, wow, Anna, something just, you did a great job. Okay, usually I can pull something. If you have a student who you are really, really struggling with, especially with PalFish, grab one of those filters. Go to that piece where there's just the song and you're either in space or in the ocean, and get them to move, get them to dance around, sing a little bit, ask them to repeat the words, something that you can go back and comment on. Something positive, even if that's it. But that positivity is what's going to draw them back. That positivity is going to stick out in their mind. That little bit of fun, whether the rest of the lesson was extremely stressful for them, that little piece is going to help remind them that there is something that they can come back to. Okay? So don't forget about having something. Do what you can. Pull it out of them. Okay? So first thing is, you did a great job. Okay? Next, I'm going to remind them just what our focus was for the day. Today, our vocabulary or our new words were, or we learned, sandwiches, apple, and lemonade. Okay? Those were the vocabulary words. Our sentence focus was, what do you have? I have a sandwich. And I'm going to put that in quotes to show that those were the sentences for the class. Now, all I've done so far is said, great job, positive start, reminded them of what the objectives were for class. Now I might say something like, you did a great job remembering sandwich and apple. And maybe this particular student struggled with lemonade. And I'll say, you forgot the word lemonade a couple of times, but with practice, you did great. Or, we will practice more next class. Or, I will send you a recording of the word so that you can practice. Okay, so just sort of give them something positive, something they did well on. Again, even if it's just the singing and the song. You did a great job swimming in the ocean with me. Okay, and then some things we can work on next class are, or you had a little bit of a difficult time with, and kind of go from there. What did they struggle with? Always remind them, we will practice together next class. If you can send them something follow-up to help them review, a follow-up worksheet or something like that, go ahead. Now, this is not a requirement. This does take extra time. This is not something that I do all the time, because they do come back, right? They will come back if they are regular students specifically, or even if they're not and you're trying to get them to be. Remind them that you will practice more. This is just one class. You will have more time to practice and improve. And this is something they can do at home. I also like to encourage reading in the app, but you don't have to do that. And then I will always say, I will see you soon. See you in the next class. I can't wait to see you again. Something along those lines. So guys, my reports, my written reports, now these are the lengthiest reports of the three I've talked about. You're either ticking, only ticking and writing, or writing. You're about 4 to 5 sentences. I always, and again, this is something I've talked about in earlier videos. Some teachers do it, some teachers don't. Some are for it, some are against it. I always translate. Now, a couple of things. My sentences are always basic. Great job today, Johnny. Today we learned do. Our sentence focus was you did very well with. We will practice this next class. Okay? See you soon. 5, 6 sentences. Okay? Those sentences are going to translate pretty well. But to be safe, quick copy and paste, Chinese to English, make sure there's nothing too funky. Now, the most important thing is not the way that it sounds grammatically when it comes back. Because remember, you're translating another language. It's not going to sound grammatically correct more often than not. Okay? So it's often going to sound a little wonky. What's important is that you don't put a word, right? Some words to us have multiple meanings that do not have multiple meanings in Chinese. So you really want to be careful with those words. For example, one time I put up a moment of my boys, right? And it was a super cute moment. It was me hugging them, and it was just, like a Saturday afternoon. And I put, I love spending time with my love bugs. Okay? Nothing too crazy. I posted it. This was before I made sure to check all of my translations. I posted it in English. I just translated it and posted it in Chinese under it and submit. Someone commented back and said that my translation was wrong. So, what do they mean? So I copied and pasted my Chinese into and translated to English. And what it actually translated as was, I love spending time with my love errors. Bugs, like a bug in a computer, right? Something has a bug. It's an error. So be careful. There are many words in the English language that don't quite translate to other languages. So just be wary of that. Check your translations. And yeah. Now, with the new PalFish system, those of you who are with PalFish, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you that aren't, if you're looking at considering joining PalFish, this may or may not be the system. We may or may not get it, worked out. So right now we've got our objectives. We have strengths and we have weaknesses. They're the same. You're going to choose your vocabulary and your focus for sentences for strengths. You're going to do the same for weaknesses. The biggest downside here is that you have to choose a strength and a weakness. So let's say I have a high-level student who does really well all the time on the objectives. Maybe there's something new that I teach them that they didn't know about or something that they struggle with outside of those objectives, but that's not included there. But I have to choose a strength and a weakness from this list. So what do? Choose all the strengths, save one weakness for the end, and say, this is something we didn't get to practice as much today. We'll practice more next class. Or you can just say, you did well, maybe we needed extra practice with this. That's it. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I will tell you this. When you click those strengths and weaknesses, you're going to get this automated text that's going to look really funky. Now, it may or may not translate correctly to Chinese. The sort of discussion is that the people think the reason it is the way that it is because of that translation. That's all good and dandy, but I'm not submitting reports like that. I am sticking to my same report. So I do my click, click, click. I write my report and I submit. Now, if you click or unclick something after you type your report in the box, everything you typed is going to disappear. It's going to regenerate to that automated thing. So be careful. If you want to type it in notes, that's what I've been doing and copying and pasting it, then submit. You can do that. Or just make sure you don't click something again. All right, guys, so I hope this was helpful. For those of you considering getting into the ESL online world, it is an awesome place to be. There is so much going on. It's fun. It is work from home. And this is just one little thing that you need to do to help ensure that you are doing the best for your students. If you have any questions at all, as always, please feel free to comment below or shoot me an email at workathomecast@gmail.com. See you guys next time.